Hello guys, welcome to my channel. As you can tell from the title of this video, this is going to be a book review. So today I'll be reviewing Yaa Gyasi's Homegoing, which is her debut novel. I'm supposed to have put up this review by now because I finished reading the novel last month, and I usually like to give the review like sort of quite immediately, so all my reactions and all my thoughts I could just relay them easily. But one thing led to the other, I couldn't film, and then I started procrastinating, and then today I was like, alright, enough is enough, you need to review this book. So here I am. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please click that button down below and like, share, all of that jazz, and click the notification bell if you want to get updates of whenever I do post a video. Now let's get straight into it. Now I really enjoyed reading this novel. The thing with me and sort of books, I love books that are really interesting, I get engrossed in it, but books that also sort of you sort of learn from. So because of the nature of this book, the time it was set in, the theme and core of the book, you learn a lot about when was this? I can't remember the exact year, but you learn a lot about like the time during the slave trade and everything. So yeah, so what I'll just say is what inspired Yaa to actually write this book, I know because I did research on article I wrote, was when she went to Ghana in 2009, and she visited Cape Coast Castle, which is one of like the castles where slaves were held before being shipped off to America. And I can really imagine how that inspired her, because I myself have been to Cape Coast. So Cape Coast is actually a region in Ghana, but then there's a castle there called Cape Coast Castle. But I haven't been to Cape Coast Castle, but I've been to Elmina Castle, which is another castle still in the Cape Coast region. And when I went there as well, saw the rooms where they kept the slaves, the chains, and how the conditions and everything there was. It was just wow, it was heart-wrenching, I would say. And yeah, so I could see how that really inspired her. Now what I love, let me just go straight into it so I don't ramble too much and this video is not too long. I don't want that. So what I really love about this book is sort of like how she showed a very good, in-depth and clear picture of the two continents where this was happening. So obviously Africa and North America, United States of America to be precise. So the book sort of would I say follows the storyline and the tree line of a woman who gave birth to two daughters. The two daughters never knew they had sisters and they never met, but due to what happened in that time, one of the sisters remained in Ghana, and the other one, her family line sort of ended up in America because she was sold into slavery. And the book just gives a beautiful depiction of like different would I say different generations in that family tree. I think what you can really get from this, if you don't know much about history in terms of the slave trade, is sort of like how things happened and how the generations went through like the history, I would say. Now I say this because myself, I've been sort of reading books, watching things here and there where I've been picking up a few knowledge and ideas of how it was at that time and how the slave trade came to be. Now if you don't know anything about it, I know sometimes I'll think like, how did that even happen? How did they just take people away from this continent all over to another continent? Like, was it not a struggle? Did the people not fight? Did people not try to stop it? Like, were the Africans just so helpless? Did they just have a gun to their head? Like, how did it like literally happen practically? Like, I mean obviously we still don't know the psychology and all of that about it, but how did it actually happen? Now I love this book because this book sort of explains it. Obviously this book is totally fiction, it's not real at all, but I mean it's set in the history and the realities of what really happened. And the story could be of any of the millions of people that were affected by the slave trade. So yeah, so you get to learn a lot about that. And sometimes you hear some Africans who are still really mad and still really affected, like, how could my people have sold us into slavery? And then you, with this book and doing more research as well, you get to learn that it wasn't just like that, because slavery always existed even in that time. But this chattel slavery, the transatlantic slavery, was the first of its kind in that way, the first of its kind in that magnitude of mass immigration of people from one continent to the other under forceful conditions, obviously. So now, how did like the Africans who were there, how did they sort of let that happen? I don't want to say that. You get to find out more about it in the book, and although it doesn't excuse anything that happened, you sort of get a sense of, okay, this is why this could have happened, this, yeah. So that's sort of like about a strand of the book I really enjoyed. Now, in terms of her writing, her writing is amazing. Like, I just enjoyed the book so much. I didn't want it to end, and because it's like every chapter was so like these were the two sisters, so the chapter will be about one generation, then it moves to the other generation, it's just going down to present day America and present day Ghana. You get to see how like the generations from this tree line just evolved with the different things that were happening in America, from slave trade to when there was slavery was abolished, to when, you know, because sometimes you think, oh, the slavery was abolished, they had all this. No, they didn't have all this rights, weren't able to like walk normally. Some people were still hunted. There were some states which were still trying to get sort of capture slaves who had sort of run away. So there was lots of things that happened. You get to learn a bit about the mining era in America, where they were sort of mining and building America and all of that. You get to learn about the war as well. Yeah, it's just, wow, it's just, the book is just awesome. It's just too much. I can imagine the tons and tons of research that went into writing this book, and I don't remember the exact number now, but I think it probably took about the span of 3 years to write the book. Now, if it was 3 continuous years, I do not know for a fact, but I know when she like finished and got a deal or something, it took her about 3 years. And yeah, I can really imagine, because of the depth of and everything in this book, I can imagine she would have done research for days. And that's one of the things I love about writing as well, like the research. And the thing is, you do so much research, you get all this information, and obviously when you write the story, you can't just drop all of that research in there, but it enriches the story. And I could really see one thing I enjoyed about the book, and which I think some people saw, I wouldn't say as a negative, but they're sort of disappointed in, is because she writes about each generation on the tree line from the 2 different sisters, and so people saw it like as short stories, but it's not really a short story. And this book could be like hundreds of books in itself, because every single would I say member of the family she wrote about on the 2 different family trees, like their story itself is so interesting, so it's just so beautiful, so amazing, so rich, that it couldn't have stopped, which is why people are like, oh, it's like as soon as I'm enjoying the story of this person and getting into it, it ends, and then she goes to another person on the family tree. And I can sort of get that, but obviously because this is not a book of short story, this is just a debut novel in itself, she can't just, you know, write so much about, but because even the thought and everything she put into each character. So there are like so many characters in this book, and we don't get to hear their full story because she's just depicting a particular point in each character's life and how that sort of connects them to the continent. You don't get to see the whole story, but even the depth of her writing and the character building and everything, like each character is not the same. They're like their own person, and I can just imagine I can just imagine like the time, the effort, the amount of research that went into writing this book. Like yeah, it's almost like every character there could be a full-length book on every single character. That's how interesting it is. That's how detailed the writing of it is. So I sort of understand when people are like, oh no, I wanted to read more about a particular character, but then it just ended and moved on to the next character. I don't see that as a negative. I see that as the beautiful writing beautiful, amazing work of the writer to sort of capture your attention so much in such a short span as a chapter, for you to just want to read more and read more and not want it to end. So that was amazing about the book. And another thing I would say, that really, I mean, it's something that I could have easily known, but seeing as in the story she sort of made, although the two family tree, and because the sisters never knew they had a sibling, so the sort of generations never could have thought, oh, who could be like my cousin or whatever from the other part of the world, and which is really sad. I'll come back to that line of thought, but because towards the end, the last two generations from this family tree, they sort of came together in America, but obviously there was no way for them to have ever known they were actually like cousins, which is such a big shame, because from like hundreds and hundreds of generations they finally come together. And it was quite interesting. She didn't make it like a love story, but it was sort of some love interest there, which is when you think about lots of African Americans now, and how if in any way someone could trace their lineage, it's possible some of them are actually like related generations and generations over, and are married, have been in sexual relationships and things like that. So that was an interesting sort of, will I say, thing for her to have sort of touched on. Another line of thought that I said I would come back to was sort of, it's such a shame how you get, so with the book, and obviously from you know of history, in terms of like right from when the slaves were captured and they were put with people, so even when they were in Ghana they were put with people from different tribes. So if you know a bit about like the history of most of West African countries, there was nothing like countries per se, they were just like people of different tribes sort of living around together and stuff. They mostly were involved in wars, which was how like slaves from wars were started. So which is why I said slavery itself and having slaves were already existed, but these were slaves that were just like house slaves, not excusing that as well at all, but these were house slaves that would just do like house chores and stuff for you. It was never to the extent of the transatlantic slavery. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, so because of the way they were captured, put with people from different tribes, so they all didn't speak the same language. So now there's already confusion, there's already, how do we communicate? Now the white man forces them to obviously learn English, and that's how they start to communicate. On the plantation farms in America, they couldn't speak the language. Even when they had children, they were not allowed to like pass on that culture and that language and everything that had to do from them. So this is how I think most African Americans just lost everything. So they didn't even know where they're from. That's why like they don't know where they're from. It's just now with technology people are able to do the whole like my gene stuff, and they're like, okay, maybe I'm 5% from here, I'm 50% Nigerian, or I'm 25% Ghanaian and stuff, and instead of then say, oh okay, probably this was the West African country I am, my lineage is from. But because taking the slaves onto America, and they was under all the strict rules, they couldn't speak their native tongue, they couldn't pass it down to the children, they couldn't sing and all of that. So the book sort of depicts that fully, how they just lost everything about themselves. So even when they come in contact with some other maybe African American who was maybe living in another state or on another plantation, they would never have known that, oh, that person is from my tribal land, because they had lost it all in just under 2 or so generations, or even the same generation of captured people. They were forbidden to speak this language. So all of that wealth of culture was just lost. And the funny thing is, although this book talks about a sad time, the book in itself is not, I wouldn't say it was sad. I mean, the meaning of it and what you get from it is sad, but reading it isn't sort of like a tragedy, probably because she writes beautifully. So now I'm not saying slavery is not a tragedy, I'm saying how her writing and words, you're not just thinking, oh, I don't want to read that book, it's so painful, it's so painful. It's more of like, I want to read the book because I'm learning all of these things, not just enjoying fiction novel, because to begin with, this is fiction, this is a book to sort of enjoy, but it's a book that teaches you, which is amazing. So I don't know if there's anything more I can say about this book. All I can say is if you want to be entertained by a literary writer, this is the book you should definitely check out. If you want to learn more about the slave trade without going to read like boring old historical texts and stuff, then this is it, because I think this definitely educates you in terms of like how things happen. And because one of the sisters was sold into slavery while the other one remained, you get to see what was happening on the continent in Africa, and you get to see what was happening in America as well as time passed. And I think it's just a beautiful, amazing way, with a lot of resources, with a lot of knowledge, with a lot of information for you to know and sort of understand and learn what happened in the chattel slavery times, as opposed to reading like a history book that just gives you all the facts and stuff. And I think because this weaves it into a story and makes the characters believable and sort of humanizes them as well, you get to really enjoy it. So yeah, if you've not read the book, make sure you go check it out. I definitely recommend it. And I think that's all for this book review. If you've read the book yourself, I want you to leave your comments down below and tell me what you loved about it, and add to anything I've said. And if you haven't and you're looking for a next book to get engrossed in, definitely check out Homegoing by Yaa Gyasi. And that's it for today's video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please check out all my other videos, my photography BTS, my travel vlogs, more videos coming your way, and I'll see you in the next one. Please do subscribe to my channel and share it with someone who you think would love my content as well. And yeah, bye!